So you really have to consider the fact that this is a one-way trip to hell, all things considered. The Apothecary Diaries, in an episode where we have Lakan, just most menacing man in the room, right? Just you you could have had him say, I just came from killing babies or doing the most heinous things, because that's the aura he gave off. And then you transition into, yeah, but look at my wife. She's awesome. And I love him. I think he's a fantastic character. But keep in mind, this is a man who, even if MaoMao and him don't have the best relationship at face value, if he was to learn anything happened to MaoMao, he literally expresses how you're not going to be able to get any information out of people because they can't speak anymore. What do you think he would do if someone touched his daughter? Just that has to be foreshadowing. That has to be a one-way trip to hell. But this entire episode was mind-blowing because the thing is season 1 showed us that everything does connect. Sometimes it's like an arc or two connects to one path. This one felt a lot more like literally everything we've touched upon over now 16 episodes came full circle in such a way that has my mind just absolutely exploding and racing at where things are going to go as MaoMao's kidnapped. The one-way trip to hell is going to be a bloodbath, and honestly, who can we really trust at this point? Probably not a whole lot, but let's see where they go from here, I suppose. Of course, so I got those full live reactions over on my Patreon. Want to support my work, see my full thoughts on this amazing, amazing show over there exclusively. So I love this. Like, even before the kidnapping plot line, like, this was just such a good episode. It was a lot more serious in tone. It felt like there was a lot less jokes and humor. And in general, it just felt like they were clearly building into something big. And I think the idea of, there's obviously been a lot of speculation, a lot of what was going to happen. And I mean, MaoMao herself has dug through a lot of conspiracies before many characters have. So the idea of her going to the Rear Palace, because, one thing that was really interesting and I think confusing for me is when we're into the whole, people are they trying to abort babies? We have this market that came into town. Like, where would people get all the information to do everything that happened? Like, half a dozen episodes, a dozen episodes back, however long it's been. And this episode pretty much confirms, okay, here we go. The idea of how they explain how everything comes full circle. First, we have MaoMao's, adoptive dad, right? Because biological dad's doing some psycho shit out there. And the idea that he writes this list or whatever that's super simplified because it's so everyone can read it equally. And the idea of how at face value that's something that can be used to prevent accidents, but that could also be used to spread bullshittery, right? Because essentially what it says to avoid means you could then use that if you have nefarious reasons. And the idea that, for the most part, everyone's roughly around the same age or in the younger area, but in the back of the Rear Palace, everyone's pretty old. To keep that job for so long is pretty impressive at face value. And then you realize, oh no, the late Emperor, he liked them young. So the fact that once he did stuff, they weren't allowed to leave. And obviously that builds malice. And you understand why it builds malice. Does it excuse things and how they, do their nefarious things and how they spread gossip and words and how characters are how would they learn this? And then there's old Betty over here who's teaching you how to do heinous shit. It's okay, now this is all making sense. And I like how MaoMao's I can't necessarily prove things, but also I feel bad for them, so I don't want to completely ruin their life because it's just such a conflicting thing. And then insert, oh god, here's character we thought was dead. And I mean, it's been pretty clear for the past couple of episodes that this was probably going to happen, but to have the reveal of oh yeah, you faked your death. And then, wait a second, how did this book get here? And it's all just coming together of we can trust so few people in this royal palace after all. And she's don't you want to learn how to make revival elixir? And it's no, I don't. I mean, MaoMao does, but no, I don't. I just imagine we're about to have the most glorious team up known to man between Jinshi and Lakan. I need these two to work together guns in their holsters, just sailing across the sea, whatever they need to do, because I imagine both of them will be equally pissed off when they realize that, she nowhere to be seen. I just love how this show structures things, because at face value, especially in season 1, it was, here's a girl in a royal palace, and she's pretty much a detective, right? Like, she's trying to keep a low profile, but every other week or every few episodes, it was like a new case of the week. But it makes sense, right? Like, you're in the middle of a royal palace, there's going to be a lot of bullshit going on. And then, I think it was around this time in season 1 too, it all started to click a bit more into more connected plot lines. But I think what's really nice about season 2 is that I felt like the stories that they've been setting up in the almost cases of the week have been a lot more engaging than season 1, and I think they felt more thought out. So while I knew different ones were clearly going to click again, I just wasn't expecting episode 16 to come in and say, hey, we're gonna tie back. I'm pretty sure they tied back to everything. Maybe other than ghosts. I think that's the only thing maybe they didn't touch upon. But either way, this show's next level. I'm very happy that it's popular, like, across the globe. Like, it does well streaming numbers in the West. It's very popular in Japan. There's a shit ton of source material to adapt, so you know we're going to get a season 3 minimum. But it makes me happy because this is the type of show anymore that it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do good just because it's, either has a successful source material or, it's well written, because so many shows get slept on anymore that deserve so much more praise than they're getting. But I'm just happy that Apothecary Diaries is, standing out from the crowd and doing its own thing, and I'm loving it. It's like that scene with Lakan, man. The way he, like, shakes them down about how, like, they're not going to be able to speak. Like, my favorite thing in season 1 was him. And what they ended up doing with a character who I thought was going to be nothing but a scumbag. And I felt for his love story so much. And I wanted to see more. I was worried because I knew new wife-to-be was probably not going to live too long. And, I mean, I guess it depends on how long the time of in-between episodes actually lasts. But we know she's very disease-ridden and she's not going to live for a dozen more years. And to have an episode like this that simultaneously gives me more of that romance and me being like, oh my god, like, look at him, he's so proud of the fact that she's so good at this game. And we learned that apparently they had 7 nights of celebration, and I'm like, God bless my boy, you get that. But then it's also, oh yeah, he will absolutely hurt anyone to get information if you're a bad person. So what will he do to someone who touched his daughter? That's a one-way trip to hell, if you ask me. Let me know your thoughts on this week's episode. Probably the best. I don't know. I've said that like about half these episodes, but I think this one specifically is a different beast, and I'm pretty sure the next probably 4 are gonna top it. But thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Durhosh, Franklin Greenway, Hikari Lounge, Fletchbringer, So Logaki, Subject 3, Sarnik, Jade, and we also have Versuva Granada. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Y'all have a good one.